Welcome back to the second hour of Citizen Extra on this, the 5th day of June 2017. Monday, of course. My name is Wahiga Mwaura, and right now we'll be switching gears. We are talking about the nurses strike that started at midnight about 10 hours ago. An estimated 25,000 nurses down their tools in this process. They are resuming a nationwide strike after the Council of Governors failed to honor a deal it signed with the union. To get an update on what is happening in the counties, we now cross over to Kisumu County, specifically at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital, where we join Laura Achieng. Laura, I'm sure you can hear me. Good morning, and what is the status there?
Thank you very much, Wahiga Mwaura. We are at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital, where nurses here have joined their counterparts in the nationwide strike. Now, of course, we're at the outpatient sector, and where we also have the children's sector on the other side. And true, nurses here are walking around, but in civilian clothing. They're telling us that they're in solidarity with their counterparts, and they're all waiting for the honoring of the CBA by the governors. Of course, that is following the directive by the acting Secretary General, Mr. Opetu, to down their tools today. And later on, we'll be speaking to the administration here to tell us how they are going to handle the situation. Wahiga.
All right. You say the nurses they've reported to work, but they're dressed in civilian clothes. Are they treating those who are sick? Are they working, or they are basically staged what's called a sit-in, where you go to work, but you don't actually work?
Yeah, the nurses are here, but they're in civilian clothing. It's really hard to identify that this is a nurse and this is a patient here. But they're telling us they've joined their counterparts. They're not working. They're just here to assess the situation, but they've downed their tools. They're just here to look around, but they're not really working, Wahiga.
Okay, and are you getting reactions from some of the patients? What have you discussed with them? And also the hospital administration, how will they handle this? Let's say, for example, tomorrow no nurses actually show up. Do they have some sort of plan B, how services can continue to be offered from that particular hospital? Again, have you managed to speak to the hospital administration? Have they told you what the way forward would be if the nurses actually do not show up to work tomorrow? Do they have a plan B?
Wahiga.
Yes.
So far, we have not. They have not spoken to us per se. We've only spoken to the doctor in charge in here, and he's saying that they have structures. They're planning to put structures in place to mitigate the nurses' strike situation. But that is all we have for now.
Okay, thank you so much, Laura, for that update from Kisumu County, and we'll come back to you later on when you have more updates. But she tells us that the nurses have reported to work. However, they are dressed in civilian clothes, and she says it's not quite easy to tell who is a nurse and who is a patient. And right now it seems that they are on some sort of go slow. They're not really offering the services that they should, just by the fact that they're not dressed in the kind of clothes that they should be dressed in when they are working at that hospital. And so we'll go back to her, and of course also we'll be in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, and Nairobi as well. Another county is giving you updates on this nurses strike. Well, let me now introduce my panel in studio. I am joined by Mr. Dakane Karur, an advocate and political analyst. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, sir.
In addition, we have Nelson Gaishuhi, a member of Parliament, Subukia. He's also here with us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ahiga.
We have Caleb Kositani, political analyst. Karibu sana.
Good evening, morning, viewers.
Yes, and finally, Michael Agwanda, also a political analyst. Great team here. We'll be able to delve into the issues. Welcome to the program as well, Mr. Agwanda.
Thank you very much, Wahiga.
Great. Now, we'll be talking about rallies, bearing in mind that about 1 week, or it's been about a week now since the IBC flagged off the official campaign period. And we've seen Jubilee campaigning, we've seen NASA campaigning, we've seen many campaigns going around. And my first question to my panel will be, this is open to anyone. So far, based on the campaigns you have witnessed, how would you rate our maturity as a democracy? Do you feel that we are making progress in regards to that? And maybe we can start with Mr. Dakane. How would you rate so far what you've seen the first week of official campaigns?
Well, actually, yes, Kenyans are very democratically matured people, honestly, when it comes to politics. But you see, if you look at it, there's still some small element that we have to rectify in terms of engaging political campaigns. We had some violence, in different places at the nomination, and also recently we had some chaos in different countries regarding political nomination. But I think Kenyans now are tired. A lot of Kenyans are politically matured. They really want real change. people, if you compare the last elections to the last 5 years, or the last decade, Kenyans were not very much involved in politics and campaigning. But now, you can see there's a lot of Kenyans who are actively engaging themselves and want to really change the leaders. They want to bring change. You know, the kind of momentum is so high in terms of actively involved in politics. And I can sense, honestly speaking, we are maturely growing democratically, and hopefully we don't want a poll where there is, you know, in 2007 what we have experienced, the PV things. We don't want a conflict, we don't want wars, we don't want anything. We want a very peaceful and democratic and transparency. And Kenyans are now politically matured. If you go to rallies, there was a rally that took place in Kapsabet, was it? People are very peaceful. And you go to Kisumu, things are changing after the nomination. I think things are changing in terms of political, peaceful nomination.
Thank you so much. Let's now go into specifics, and I believe we have some of those images. We saw two interesting yet conflicting scenarios over the last 3 days. One, which was actually an image on Facebook, I don't know if we're able to get it. It's an image of ODM supporters and Jubilee supporters peacefully campaigning in the same region, and that picture was taken when their convoys were passing each other on the same road, and they actually waved to each other in a sign of solidarity that as much as we're on opposing sides, we are still one people. I hope we'll have that picture. Do we have it? Okay, not yet. Meanwhile, another image we saw is what we saw in Kapsabet, where we saw an attempt by some youths there to chase away the NASA Pentagon from town when they were holding a rally at the Kapsabet showground. I don't know which of those two we can get first. Okay, we'll be putting them up on the screenshot. What is your take on both scenarios? On one, a sign of acceptance by people from different parties, but on the other, a sign that you know, still there are certain regions that are earmarked for certain parties, and if you go to that region and you're from a different party, then it won't be smooth sailing from you. And I want to bring in the Member of Parliament for Subukia, Mr. Nelson, Honorable Nelson Kaishuri, to give us an insight into this, bearing in mind he has been on the political. What's your take on these two scenarios?
I think what happened in Kapsabet is not something that we should be talking about, because it's something that we don't embrace at all. We know that everybody is free to campaign everywhere, and we have been preaching peace in the last maybe 1 month. So whatever happened in Kapsabet is very unfortunate. We expect to see both sides meeting and passing each other like what happened, but what happened in Kapsabet I think was not fair. We're supposed to preach peace, and that is what we are preaching.
Okay, Kositani, let me bring you in on this and ask you, I like what the Member of Parliament has said, that what happened is not fair, but would have hoped that if Kapsabet is a Jubilee region, the Jubilee party would by now have stood up to condemn what happened there, maybe to apologize to NASA, and if it happens the other way around, that if aspirants or candidates are booed in your region, that you will then stand up and say, you know what, I'm sorry, this was wrong, this should not have happened. Do you think that's what should happen in regards to what happened in Kapsabet?
Yeah, thanks, Wega. I think what really needs to happen is we need to look at what actually triggered that kind of protest in Kapsabet. And from the information I have, because that is a region where I come from, yesterday you will remember that we as Rift Valley nominees for, or other candidates on Jubilee, we had a meeting in Kericho. And on our way we met very many buses coming in from other regions heading towards Kapsabet. So the issue here is, what triggered this is ODM, knowing that they do not have, and I say ODM or NASA for in that case, knowing that they do not have the fanatical support in Kapsabet, actually transported foreigners or other people from their regions.
Can you prove that?
Yes, we can prove that. I'm sure you can. We met the buses. We didn't, of course, take any evidence or rather photographs or anything. But clear enough, the people were agitated because they wanted to fill the stadium or to portray that they had a crowd in Kapsabet, and that means the proximity between their regions, their strongholds, and Kapsabet is very near. They transported a lot of people, and I think that is what agitated the people.
Is it wrong?
Most all, it is wrong. What happened was not right by the Jubilee supporters. We hope it shall not happen again. We are going to talk to our supporters, because we want everybody to be free to campaign wherever they want. But we also ask the opposition to desist from transporting people to rallies. Let them come, meet their 5 people in Kapsabet, talk to them and leave. And Jubilee will do likewise. We will not transport supporters to any rally.
Fair enough. Even if one party transports even one person, is there anything wrong with that? Does the law prevent me from holding rallies in different areas if I've been asked to by my party of choice?
Well, because there is the law and then there is the silent law. There is the written law and then there is the common law, which we practice a lot of the times. And I think it's just natural and common sense that really, should I take people to go and agitate people if they really don't like NASA or in a Jubilee stronghold? It's not right. It's not right. If you are going to Kapsabet, go and talk to the Kapsabet people. If you are going to Kakamega, go and talk to the Kakamega people. Because you are actually fooling yourself, you are lying to yourself by transporting people, then you portray we have a crowd, and it is just a crowd that keeps following you. The same crowd you are addressing in Kakamega, you transport them to Kapsabet.
I'll be very curious to see your evidence on that. Thank you for that, Mr. Agwanda. Let me also bring you in on this. Those two incidents are conflicting. One, does that show that we are getting more mature as a democracy, or do we still have challenges that we need to talk about?
Thank you. There you go. One thing I have to say is I need to talk to my friend to give us evidence of the transportation.
I'm also waiting for that evidence.
But it would be foolhardy to say that people were transported. We know that Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga has drawn crowds before, crowds that will be coming from all manner of places to attend his rallies. And therefore, to see buses is not an evidence that people were transported. They might have been coming there in their own volition to listen to the Pentagon. One thing I have to say, though, in this rally in Kapsabet is that it will not be nice if we know that NASA is going to have a rally at this specific place and then a group of Jubilee people attend that rally with one purpose, and that is to distract the operation and the meetings that are taking place. If these people would have come there and just listened to what NASA was saying without heckling, without making noise, and without trying to disrupt it, we could have said that there's some level of maturity. Again, what we are saying here is these people did not come there by themselves. If anything, I think perhaps they were transported, because the locals that were there, as you could have seen, were so many, and they weathered the storm to listen to the Pentagon really talking to them. What I'm saying is this is not the first time the NASA team has been holding rally in North Reef or South Reef, and they've never had any problems. So this was orchestrated, this was planned by the Jubilee, and it should not happen. I will say this, I think we are in a moment where every presidential aspirant in this country need to have a space to campaign in every corner of this country. I saw a group of about 10 people talking to Miguna the other day in Nairobi, and it was nice. He's a presidential candidate, and he was talking to a small group of people. That is a
gubernatorial candidate.
Yeah, he's a presidential aspirant, I think. Gubernatorial candidate. Yeah. And I saw him having those meetings that otherwise you would not expect from a gubernatorial candidate, but that was his. What I am saying is this: Jubilee and NASA need not to interfere with one another's rallies, and if they are attending it, they need to listen to them, perhaps speak some few tricks on how they can untangle the other in a different form, but not in the same rally. We need to go out of it.
What should Jubilee and NASA do to ensure that their strongholds are accommodative of people from other parties, of aspirants, of candidates from other parties? This is to all of you in studio today. What do you think they should do?
Myself? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. Honestly speaking, look, I'm not in Jubilee, I'm not in NASA. I'll be balanced here. And, I'm in Kanu, but I'm supporting Uhuru Kenyatta, the president. But I'm not supporting anybody in Jubilee. I'll be honest. This chaos, it always happens and is happening everywhere. Not only in Kisumu or Kapsabet or Nairobi, everywhere. We talked about maturity. My colleague talked about transporting people from different regions. The problem with Kenyan politics is we are regionally divided into tribal political issues. Every region has their own political party that they will support. Look at the western part of Kenya. That's a NASA zone. Look at the coast, NASA. Central, Jubilee. The big question that I always ask people, why can't we have very democratic political parties? Jubilee, if you look at it, the main supporters, we know where they came from. If you look at NASA, we know the main supporters of. So there is that tribalism, there is that so-called tribal-based politics. The only way to get rid of all those issues, all those conflicts, because you remember last 2007 we had big problem in Kenya. I was really sad, and a lot of people were killed, a lot of people were being, left homeless, and property were damaged. We don't want to go back to that again. This is a new era. We want Kenyans to have a very peaceful and transparent. And the issue of transporting, let me tell Kenyans, and I'll this honest. There was a rally for Jubilee in Ijara in Garissa County where I came from. They have really transported as many supporters from the other region. They took planes and all that. And the question I've asked, why will Jubilee aspirant from my county waste millions of shillings on that one rally, while in the other region we have desperate people who need health, security, education, all of that. So the question is, even if they're being transported, the people who are being transported, one, they're being given money. That's corruption itself. If you give somebody who is a political supporter, they should never earn any money. Go to different developed world. So then what happened? They're being also briefed about the situation. Say, oh, if you go there, you have to do this and this and this. Well, honestly speaking, NASA, I'll be honest, most of the violence come from NASA region, and also in Jubilee.
That is a dangerous statement to make.
It is not. It's not. I'm honest. Even in Jubilee. But what we want, it's not. But what we want is actually, let's forget about these political parties. Let's think about Kenya itself. Trust Kenya. Let's trust the people's interest, the citizen, and then from there, then you can have a very peaceful, democratic.
Thank you. Let's switch gears. I mentioned that I might have some of those images from Kapsabet. Let's have a listen in, just a little bit to what happened yesterday. Oh, there we go. The first image. These are, there you can see ODM convoy there, and on the other side you can see Jubilee supporters. And look at that. Look at that acknowledgement, waving at each other. People look like they're smiling. And this picture actually went viral on social media. And even though they might be campaigning on different sides for different candidates, nevertheless they did find time to acknowledge each other's presence, and I'm sure that they talked amongst each other even as they were walking or passing by each other on this same road.
Yes, clearly with that picture you see there, it's people who know each other. Those are people from Kakamega, both ODM and the Jubilee from Kakamega region, and they know each other, and that's why they have a cordial relationship. They don't identify any foreigner, and they know these are Oparanya supporters and these are the Jubilee supporters. So they have no reason to fight. Even the other day we escorted our governor in Wasingishu, Mandago, to go and give his papers, which he was doing at 11 in the morning. The independent candidate was doing his in the afternoon, and when we were leaving, we met the independent candidate supporters, and we were saying hi and waving at each other as they passed to go and present their papers. And so when you don't transport, when you don't have foreigners who have actually been paid to come and agitate for their party or the support for their candidate, then you end up having violence. But if you don't transport, you'll end up having...
We cannot run away from the transporting issue. Do we have images now of what happened in Kapsabet? There we go. Let's have a listen as well. Well, those are images from the NASA rally yesterday at the Kapsabet showground. You can see that group of youth, and of course the next image after that was police trying to control them, and thereafter that is when the rally took place. An interesting shot where in the foreground you can see youth holding up NASA posters or small placards, but behind them you can see now another group holding Jubilee flyers saying Jubilee Zone and other messages like that. And I want to ask the Mheshimiwa here, Gaishuhi, in regards to what we saw here, how can we ensure that this doesn't happen again? This is a dangerous precedent to set, because what now NASA supporters may feel is, let's wait until the Jubilee Party comes to our strongholds. We're also going to do the same for them, and ultimately no one is a winner in this situation.
I think, as I said earlier on, that was very unfortunate, but you can see there's a police that is taking control, and the government is trying to make sure that people really, because they know there will always be clashing, and what we're trying to do is we'll have security in all camps. But I think, as my colleague has said, it's not good to transport people, because, I mean, you feel agitated when you find that you're seeing people that don't belong to your area, and when they start preaching hate speech and all that, that can trigger violence. So what I would urge is that we be accommodative of each other. We let us not transport supporters, because if you want support base, you don't need to bring somebody who supports you. You only need to come and convince the people who you find there that you're really the government that should be in place. So I think what we should do is avoid this transportation. Actually, we should have, maybe we don't want to go that way, but it's good if we can even have police roadblocks to stop people from being transported from one area to another area, and also maybe talk to...
But how will they stop them? What law will they use to block them? I think our Kenyan ID allows us to visit all of the 47 counties without any inhibitions.
Yeah, but I mean, if you know it can trigger violence, also the law allows you to stop violence instead of reacting. You should be proactive, and I think by stopping them, it's being proactive. Yeah. So I think the best thing is that we be accommodative of each other. When you know you have an rally in Nakuru, just, you know, you have Nakuru people. We have over 1 million people in Nakuru. Why do you have to bring people from outside? But I think even without bringing people, it's good that both sides preach peace. Tell your supporters to be accommodative. If it's a Jubilee side, they should tell their supporters to be accommodative of NASA people, and NASA also should preach the same thing. I think if we read from the same page, we'll be preaching peace, both of us. But if one side is silent and the other one is not silent, you expect clashes, which we don't actually want to think about.
Okay, thank you for that, Mheshimiwa. Caleb, let me ask you something else. So far, from what we've seen over the last 1 week, and of course, although the campaigns are not happening before the date set by the IBC, nevertheless there were meetings by different parties where they were selling their agenda. What do you think is the election question this time around? In 2013, some would say that the election question was ICC. This time around, from what you're seeing, what do you think is the big election question?
Well, the big election question is actually the performance, the great performance by the Jubilee government. Of course, the talk of town now, what is trending is the SGR. We have the free maternity care that we have fulfilled. We have the laptops for every kid that, though it had some hitches, it has been delivered to an extent, and it's ongoing. We have roads being constructed. We have the pledges that we can actually see that Jubilee has performed within the last 4 years. I would like to also mention that the platform for campaign now is basically about development and what we can do for the people of Kenya. So the question is development? Yes, the question is development. Delivery of promises, delivery of services, and most of all, where are we as Kenya as a nation? Where were we then before Jubilee took over, and where are we now, and where are we headed? I think we have a roadmap that is quite clear, and Kenyans will definitely give Jubilee a 10 or 10. I want to give Mr. Agwanda a chance to respond to that. NASA supporters, NASA itself saying that whereas the question might be development, Jubilee is not answering that question satisfactorily. How would you react to that?
I'll agree with them first that the questions of the election this time round is going to be around development issues. It's also going to be a government that has been sitting, that everybody is going to ask questions as in what they've been able to do for the last 4.5 years going to 5, and also interrogate them. We're talking about issues based election. When you look at President Uhuru Kenyatta talking about free secondary education just the other day, and Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga decides that he is also going to talk about free education, we are looking at issue-oriented election. But here is why Jubilee really has a lot to explain. They might have said we've been involved in the last 5 years and we've done A, B, C, D, including SGR, including free maternity, including laptops that we promise people. The question that is going to linger in the eyes of the people and the citizen and the electorate in this case is, but how about the corruption that has riddled that government? What have you done with it? When you talk about SGR, and you have Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga saying, yes, we started that project, and the bill at that particular time was 227 billion, and then it goes 100 billion more. The question was, where did that 100 billion go to, and what was the difference for if you delivered the same thing? When you talk about issues or promises that the government were giving to the people, including the laptops for class 1, I can tell you that many schools still do not, and I have not seen those laptops. So the question is Jubilee ready to engage the public on their failures as well than just development? When we're talking about issues of distributing electricity to every school, it is factual that many schools have not received electricity up to this very day, other than the poles that have gone there and the lines have not been created. We were talking about issues of Golana Kulani, which is a project that was supposed to develop food security in this country. 15 billion dumped into it and no harvest so far that can cushion us from this UNGA thing. So Jubilee has a lot to explain. And when we come back again to the issue of SGR, we need to know what economic value this is going to help somebody that is in Garissa that the SGR is not going to benefit. As for this time, we need to ask them, what is it going to happen to somebody that is in Meru, for example, that this SGR is not going? And it's a long term. The question is, we're in a situation where the government is the one that we need to interrogate. When we talk about issues of secondary, free secondary, my question is, why are you bringing it a couple of months to the election? If this was a strategy, perhaps we needed to have talked about it in the last 5 years. And so you're seeing the government trying to look at everything else that they can hold on, not to sink. I will give Mheshimiwa a chance to answer that. Before that, let me talk to Mr. Karur and find out from him. He labeled himself an independent here today. What we are seeing is that the question right now is development. Jubilee saying they've done it, give them another 5 years to finish the work or to carry it on. And NASA saying no, development hasn't happened the way that it was envisioned. In fact, some of the ideas that are being actualized now were actually thought of in previous governments, not in the Jubilee government. But for you, where you sit as an independent, as you've described yourself just now, where do you think we can find a way forward in regards to this development question? Because it seems it will be the big talking point between today and August 8th.
Thank you. Honestly, first, I'm not independent. I'm a Kanu Senate aspirant in Garissa County. My party is Kanu. I'm in Kanu. I'm not in Jubilee and I'm not in NASA.
Okay, fine. Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. And also my name is Mohammed. Karur is my surname. The thing is, honestly speaking, I'll be balanced as usual. I will respect one thing with Jubilee. One thing they have done so far. The nomination. Perfect. Well done. I will respect. But the thing is, look, before Jubilee, there's another old man I'll always respect. Honorable Moi Kibaki. The guy, and also I'll also respect the father of democracy, Honorable Raila Odinga. The two guys. Who actually, Jubilee's ideology came from all the projects that have been implemented by the Jubilee. Also, I'll respect President Uhuru Kenyatta, because all the ideas came from, these roads, highways, all this came from Kibaki's government. And Kibaki has done at least something. Let's honestly give credit to people. Now, we had President Uhuru came into the power with Jubilee. And this question I always ask. You are the inventor, and then we have got the implementer. Who is very important? Anybody can become an innovative, bring ideas, but the implementer is always the best. Uhuru Kenyatta actually has done good. He has implemented most of the project.
So who should take credit?
Of course, let me give credit on that. A lot of projects. But again, my colleagues who says the SGR. You're talking about SGR. I came from northern part of Kenya, where we have been marginalized for the last 50 years. Jubilee came, we supported. We were in ERP, and then we supported Jubilee. Majority of Garissa County, Wandera, and Wajir, their Jubilee is a Jubilee zone. But Garissa is sort of half and half, 50-50 NASA area and Jubilee. The question is, Jubilee has promised to actually build roads in northern part of Kenya. Not only northern part, if you go to eastern part, Turkana and the pastoralist-based community, we've seen nothing. In terms of insecurity, there is insecurity issue in the whole country. There is nothing. In terms of logistic and infrastructures, health, they have done little bit. But the question is, also they have promised in Garissa, in northern part of Kenya, there will be a stadium. We have never seen that. So the question is, this election will base on development, track record of any political party. Will Jubilee going to tell us that they have done something which they have never done? If it's yes, then good luck. But NASA again, let me come back to NASA. NASA, Raila Odinga was the guy who actually who has done all these projects, who has actually invented all these projects that have been done by Uhuru. And he keeps saying all this SGR, there's corruption. Let me tell you one thing. This is what I always tell, both. In this country, if you want development, if you want progressive plans and strategic plans, we need one thing, priority. I always say the three, priority, priority, priority. You prioritize everything. You engage. You do consultative meetings with the locals, the citizens, the voters, the taxpayers, and you ask them, what do you want? But not sitting in a state house or sitting somewhere in a big luxurious office and you make decisions for Kenyans. No, you have been voted by Kenyans, so you need to listen and engage and actually look. Look in Kenya, we have health issues, biggest problem. Water, biggest issue. All the counties, northern part of Kenya, the worst. Insecurity. Look. And now we can't, I can't even go and actually campaign in eastern part of Garissa County because of Al-Shabaab.
Okay.
So the thing is,
I'll have to cut you off here because I'm told that we need to cross over now to Mbagathi Hospital. We're focusing on the unhealthy standoff between the Kenya Union of Nurses and the Council of Governors. The nurses resumed a nationwide strike at 12 midnight, that's about 11 hours ago, after the Council of Governors failed to honor a deal it signed with the union. An estimated 25,000 nurses across the country are said to have joined this strike. Now, to give us more details about what is going on at Mbagathi Hospital, we now join Wukista Nyabwa. Good morning, Wukista. What is the situation at that hospital?
Good morning, Waihiga. We are at Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital in Kayole, and this is one of the public health facilities affected by the strike. We have arrived here. We were able to go in earlier to just have a look around, and we have seen quite a number of patients lined up. We do know that many of them come in very early so that they can take their spots very early, and so that they can also book their places to get treatment during the day. However, when we went in today, there did seem to be more patients than usual, and a member of staff who just spoke to us, telling us a little bit about what was going on, said that nurses had not reported the facility, and that had caused a bit of a crisis at the hospital. And what had happened was that it appears that authorities at the hospital made the decision not to accept any more patients after a certain number. So a number of patients telling us that they were turned away. Some of them telling us that those who needed the most basic services, some of them were having their wounds dressed but could not get the services. And we have been able to just find a number of them coming from the hospital. Maybe you can speak to a few. Habari yako? Pengine tueleze ni nini imekuleta hapa leo na umeweza kusaidika jinsi ulivyo.
Nilikuwa nimeleta mtoto apate immunization ya BCG. So I arrived very early. At 7 that I was here. Nurses wako wamefika, but by the time unfold waliweza kukuja, but it has taken time ndio wahudumie those who were there early.
Kwa hivyo kila mtu aliyefika hapa leo ameweza kusaidika, ama wote bado wanasubiri, ama iko vipi, hali iko vipi kwa hospitali?
Sio wote watapata matibabu. It was just a few those who arrived here by 7:30, so I don't guess that the other congregation that yenye tumeacha hapo kama watapata kutibiwa.
Are there nurses? Did you see nurses at the facility?
Yeah, they are there, but not sio wengi. They are very few. So when you view wako, I think that they will just pick up those who arrived early. That is what they have said.
So her account actually corroborating what we had earlier, just that a number of patients, the ones who came early and were able to get in, were able to get some services, but for the most part, people who came in later were turned away simply because given that the nurses were not there, the hospital would not be able to serve all the people, and the hospital does see quite a number of patients on a daily basis, but some of them have left and told us that they were not able to get the services today. We do know that there are about 25,000 nurses under the Kenya National Union of Nurses all over the country, in public health facilities all over the country, and we will be checking up to see whether there are services in other parts of the country, but we do know that from her account, from the patient's account, there were a few, not enough, but there were a few who had turned up, others telling us that they had not seen. But we have also been informed that some departments within the hospital were working while others were not. So this is, it's just, we will be keeping an eye on the hospitals that are continuing to give services and those that have shut down completely. Back to you, Waihiga.
Thank you so much, Wakisa, for giving us an accurate idea of what is happening at the Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital. Before I let you go, you have been following this story closely. Are you able to give us an idea of what has caused the stalemate between the Council of Governors and the Kenya Union of Nurses, just for the benefit of our viewers who may have just joined us? Give us an idea of what has led to this strike.
Well, Waihiga, we do know that it is essentially about the implementation of the collective bargaining agreement. We do know that the nurses went on strike on 5th of December, actually at the same time as the doctors last year, and that their strike ended a week later after they came to an agreement with all the stakeholders, among them the COG and other stakeholders, and they agreed to negotiate and to come to an agreement about how the CBA would be implemented, and basically would be signed and implemented, but they do feel that up until now that the work that was to be done has not been done. We do know that there's a sticking point with the signing of the CBA, with the Council of Governors just speaking yesterday. They did speak at, and we did see a letter correspondence between the COG and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. The COG Chair Jacqueline Mogeni CEO saying that they had done their bit and that now it was up to the SRC to do its bit so that they could proceed as planned, and therefore just I guess tossing the ball to the court of the SRC. So we will be waiting to see what happens today. We do know that the Council of Governors was to have a briefing later today in the morning or just before noon. They were to have a briefing to address that and to also give a status report of how matters stand right now. Waihiga.
Thank you so much, Wakista, for that update, reporting from the Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital, letting us know that indeed the strike has begun. The patients who got there early did manage to get services, but those who are arriving now are facing various challenges. An estimated 25,000 nurses from across the country expected to be part of this strike. We'll have more accurate statistics and the situation on the ground as well during the course of this broadcast, and of course during our subsequent bulletins as well. Well, we carry on with our discussion here in studio, and I want to give Mheshimiwa Honorable Gaisho here a chance, and also our other analyst Kositani, a minute each to respond to the I don't want to call them allegations, or the thoughts of those who spoke just before we took that break in regards to Jubilee's development record, whether it is a real development or perceived development, and after that we'll be able to switch topics. Mheshimiwa, over to you.
Thank you, Wahiga. I think I want to thank the Jubilee government, because we've always been complaining that we have so many plans that we don't implement. So when Jubilee came over, we had the Vision 2030. Jubilee did not want to start thinking of another plan. They started by implementing what is there in the Vision 2030, because there was no need of starting new plans. Well, we had good plans. We had already passed the Vision 2030, which everybody was supporting. So what we should be comparing, what has happened in Kenya for the last 50 years and what has Jubilee achieved in 4 years. Because when we say Jubilee has not achieved, what was there before? and what has Jubilee achieved. You should be comparing how many kilometers of road did we have within the 50 years and how many more kilometers have we put in place. We should also be looking at SGR, which was a Vision 2030 project. Do we have to wait? Is it a necessity? I think it is. If you think big, I think SGR is the best thing that we now have. When you look at electricity, how many homes were connected to electricity before and how many are connected now? How many schools were connected? How many are connected now? So we look at even the child mortality rate. How many children were dying because they could not access maternity? How many are accessing now? So if we think on that line, I think Jubilee has really achieved. And we actually building a foundation, which we are going now in the next 5 years, because we believe we are going to get another 5 years. We are going to now build on our foundation. That is when the people will start seeing the benefits of SGR, the benefits of having electricity all over, the benefits of even free secondary education, and even the many things that Jubilee has promised. So I think it was good for Jubilee to start working on the Vision 2030 plan and not starting other plans, because why shelf an idea which was good? It was not bad. It is not a Kibaki or Raila plan. It is a Kenyan plan, and Kenyans really want development. They don't want to be told this is what you want to do in the next 5 years. You shelve it, another government comes, instead of implementing what is there. If something is good, I think it's good to run away with it. And I think that is what Jubilee has been doing.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Caleb. Do you concur? Do you agree?
Yes, I concur with my colleague, but before I go to that, my colleague here, Mr. Gwanda, mentioned something about the free secondary education. Says Uhuru spoke about it, and now Raila is speaking about it, which is actually, he has stated the facts very clearly. It was actually a Jubilee idea that ODM is trying to
free secondary education.
About free secondary education. But let me also answer my colleague here. He mentioned when we were talking about the development projects that Jubilee has achieved, and he went on to the corruption stories of perceived corruption things. But I must say that we also have people in ODM, or rather in the NASA team, that have very serious we have very serious corruption, especially the top guys. We have the NYS land that Kalonzo is living in right now, that needs to be sorted. We have the cemetery that Mudavadi is accused of. We have the very big scandal of the Tokyo embassy in Japan. I mean, that's an international crime by Wetangula. We have the maize scandal that was there before, the molasses factory in Kisumu. Even the WikiLeaks actually mentioned that Odinga was trying to suspend Ruto and Dongeri, I think at that time, from the government because he was deeply involved as a family in corruption. So I think we need, as Kenyans, to really get serious. But back to the Jubilee government, what we've done. One thing is, during the Musumkata government, His Excellency the Deputy President and the President now, Uhuru Kenyatta, works together as the Minister of Finance. One has Minister of Finance, the other has Minister of Agriculture, to actually bring down the cost of fertilizer by subsidizing it. At that time, cost of fertilizer was 6,500 per bag, and they brought it down to about 2,500 shillings, which was a great achievement, and it is ongoing. It is ongoing in the Jubilee administration. We have seen the complete cancellation, or rather removal of examination fees, so that all the students can go stress-free. Students can study knowing that I don't have to, my parents are not stressing looking for the examination fee. That is something that has happened. We have a lot of projects that are happening on water supply, clean water supply to all Kenyans, and that is ongoing. We want to say that the opposition are actually leaving to their word. They oppose everything, because at least honestly, they cannot tell us that for the last 4 years, Jubilee has done nothing. Let them mention even one thing that Jubilee has done. All they are doing is any project that is going to touch on the lives of Kenyans, they are busy opposing. Look at the Itare Dam, for example. Raila goes and issues a statement that the project should be stopped, when he knows that all these projects started, some of them he signed off when he was Prime Minister to initiate those projects. The other thing that we want to caution NASA about is that let them try and run their political parties as Kenyans. You have seen Kalonzo nominating his son for Yale. Honestly, is he the best is his son the best? I mean, really, you've seen Raila always trying to bring in his brother. It's all a family. It's all about a family, son, brother. Thing. No, we want them to allow democracy to prevail in their parties. Look at the nomination process. Show me where you saw a queue of ODM people lining up to go for my brother here ran for nominations And if you want to speak the truth on camera, he will tell you that he went through a very, there was no democracy in the nomination. So honestly, we need to speak honestly, and I think Jubilee has done a great job. We have a wonderful president, we have a very able deputy president, and we are headed for victory.
Thank you so much. Let's put that matter to rest for now and take a look at what's happening on the global front. Now, in the United Kingdom, thousands gathered yesterday for a benefit concert to remember the victims of May 22nd's terror attack in Manchester. This comes in the wake of yet another terror attack in the country last Saturday. David Oyuke gives us this detail.
12 days after disaster struck Manchester at the heart of Ariana Grande's concert, thousands gathered yet again at a concert headlined by the pop icon. This time, though, it was a concert in remembrance of those who lost their lives on the May 22nd attack.
Would you agree that love always wins?
Strength, courage and unity were the underlying themes in a packed Old Trafford Cricket Stadium with approximately 50,000 people under the careful watch of hundreds of police. Pharrell Williams, Katy Perry and Justin Bieber were just a few of the biggest acts joining Grande in appreciating the sense of unity on display, describing it as medicine for the world.
I love you guys so much, and I think that the kind of love and unity that we're displaying is the medicine that the world really needs right now.
The concert went on despite security fears from Saturday night's London Bridge terror attack, with event organizers and police insisting that the tribute concert would definitely go on.
But if you only got love for your own race, then you only leave space to discriminate.
For Citizen Extra, I'm David Oyuke.
Well, we carry on taking a look at what's been happening in London, and we should be having a live feed now from Reuters, just showing the situation right now on the streets of London. And the latest update received from CNN is that United Kingdom police have seized evidence and made further arrests in 2 early morning raids in East London, bringing the total number of those in custody following Saturday's terror attack to 12. So 12 people now are in custody in regards to Saturday's terror attack. London Metropolitan Police said they have received a huge amount of forensic material as part of their effort to determine if the 3 men who rampaged through central London on Saturday evening, killing 7 and injuring 48, while working with others. More than 24 hours after the third terror attack on British soil in less than 3 months, few details have been released to the public about the attackers or the victims of the assault. Details are being kept closely under wraps, in contrast to last month's Manchester bombing, when photos and information from the investigation were reportedly leaked to the media. So that is the latest that we have so far. Those are images now from the streets of London. What we can let you know is that 12 people, total number of those in custody, 7 died as a result of this attack, 48 were injured, and 3 men were the ones who rummaged through central London on Saturday evening carrying out this. And what police are trying to find out is if those 3 men were working alone or in cahoots with others. Now, more than 24 hours after this attack, not much is known about it, but of course we'll be keeping close tabs on this story and bringing you updates as and when we get them. Well, we continue following up on the unhealthy standoff between the Council of Governors and the Kenya Union of Nurses, and why the nurses have decided that starting about 11 hours ago that they are going to go on strike until the agreement with the Council of Governors is signed. We'll be going over to the Council of Governors shortly. That's the image you see on your screen where a press conference will take place. We expect the immediate former chairperson of the Council of Governors, Peter Munya, together with the current chairperson of the Council of Governors, Josephat Nanok, to address the press and to let them know what their role is in this unhealthy standoff. That's coming to you shortly right here on Citizen Extra. Well, time now for a short break. That is the end of the second hour of Citizen Extra. We'll be talking about the unhealthy standoff. We'll be talking about World Environment Day. We'll also be taking a look at a story that Citizen TV exclusively brought to you, Comrades in Misery. All that and more after this short break.